So it is Sunday morning, Heroes Con weekend, and I thought that I would do a wrap-up video today because I don't think that I'm going to get back to the con, so I thought I'd do a wrap-up now. So I'm going to show you some of the books that I have here on the table that I actually had signed, and also what I picked up, and I will tell you, it's golden. Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. It is Heroes Con weekend. By far, my favorite con out of all the ones that I've been to. I've done San Diego, New York, and Heroes Con a couple of times, and again, Heroes Con is my favorite. The focus is on the comics. It's not about the cosplay or about the movie reveals or about the variants that are being sold. It is about comics. It is guys and gals digging in long boxes, people making deals to add awesome comics to their collection, and it's about getting signatures from creators. And so I spent a part of Friday and also a part of Saturday down at the con. On Friday, I took a lot of time to kind of look around and see what was there. I was able to get a couple of signatures from some people. I actually have my comic shop, Nirvana, get a couple of extra signatures for me on Saturday because I wasn't going to be able to get there that early in the day. And I also did some negotiation to try to pick up some books. And so I want to show you all what was signed, what was purchased. I showed some of these books in a previous video, but I want to talk a little bit more about them now that I've actually had them signed. Had a couple of Infinity Gauntlets signed by Jim Starling, and I hovered around his table for a little while waiting for him to come back because I missed his early appearance on Friday. Caught the second and was able to have a brief conversation with him about Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos Quest, and some other things. And he shared with me that he actually preferred Thanos Quest between the two because Thanos Quest was more focused on Thanos himself versus Infinity Gauntlet. But it was cool to be able to stand across the table from Jim and have a little bit of a conversation about comics with him. When I was leaving on Saturday, I'm on the escalator going up, he's on the escalator going down, and I gave him a little wave just to say thank you for everything. You know, I don't know if he recognized me from the day before, it doesn't even matter, but it was cool to be able to again have a conversation with him and see him a couple of times over the course of those 2 days. Also had a chance to meet Dennis Cowan, and I had a much longer conversation with him as he signed a couple of copies of Icon for me. These are the two different variant covers of Icon. Well, one's a variant, one's the cover A, and then he also signed a static for me. Had a really good conversation with him about Icon, the McFarlane toy that was released a couple of months ago, and technically Dennis informed me that there were two versions of Icon that were actually released. He has both of them, I have neither, and it was cool to find out that he actually had some involvement with the toy. I had no clue. You don't know whether the creators are still involved with some of this stuff after all the years, but he was involved with the release of the toy, so I thought that was pretty cool. And again, just had a really good conversation with him. I specifically focused on Deathlok in the 4-part series that he was a part of, and he confessed to me that he was brought in on that project a little late, and he was intimidated to take over the project from I think it was the previous artist that was working on the book, just because of the reputation and the quality of the work that was being done by this previous artist. He said he was intimidated, but he took it on. And I personally think that he did a fantastic job because that Deathlok series is one of my favorites. And I'm actually going to be reaching out to his representative with the hope that I can maybe get a page or two from that series. So that'll be interesting whether we can make that magic happen. Let me show you what else. I had a Nirvana Comics. Shout out to Nirvana, my LCS. They actually did a couple of signatures for me because I have met Chris Claremont before, because his line was stupidly long at the thing. I actually had them get this signature for me, and so he signed this copy right there. This is X-Men Annual 14. So I saw Chris from a distance, but his line, like I said, was ridiculously long. So I also had them get signatures for two other creators, and I'll show you those here. Echo, A Future Past, Michael Golden signed this one right here, so it was cool. He actually signed right below his name. His signature was expensive. It was expensive. I didn't know how expensive until after the books were already signed, but no big deal. He also signed this one. This is a pretty hard book to get. This is Punisher 100. Michael Golden did this cover and he signed it down here at the bottom for me. And yeah, it's a pretty cool book. I think I found 2 copies of Punisher 100 in the collection, so I had him sign one of them for me. And then Adam Hughes was also there, and I showed again all of these books in, no, not all, some of these books in a previous video. This is Eagle 6. Adam Hughes's, I think, first published work is in this book. It's a splash page. He didn't sign the cover of these for me. He actually signed his actual splash page, which I think is kind of cool. It's some of that old school stuff where they sign on the inside. So I thought that was cool. He didn't do the cover of this, just the splash page. So he signed 2 copies of that for me. And someone's hair is right there. So several of these books are going to be made available on the Encore app. I'll put a link down in the description if anybody's interested in picking some of that stuff up. But Heroes Con was fantastic. Tried to negotiate a deal on Saturday for a book that I had seen on a Friday, was unable to negotiate the deal. The person wanted way too much for the book. They were selling a raw book and they were pricing it as if it were a graded book, and we had a back and forth trying to figure out a number that we were both comfortable with. His number was not one that I was comfortable with, and mine was not acceptable either. So I ended up just thanking him for his time and walking away from the deal. I am pretty confident that I'm going to be able to find a graded version of that exact same book for less money than what he was trying to sell the raw book for. And I'm not going to tell you what the book was because I'm not going to do that. But everybody that watches this channel knows that I've been on the hunt for a golden age book. I've been selling books like crazy on the Encore app and also on eBay, like stuff like this, trying to save my way towards getting a golden age Human Torch book. And while I was at this con, I saw several really good copies of Human Torch books, Timely Comics, various early golden age books featuring Cap, Human Torch, Submariner, Toro in various configurations. And I spotted one on Friday, just it captured my attention. I had not seen this book in person ever. And at the con, I actually saw 2 copies of it. 2 really nice copies, one raw and one graded. And I decided to pull the trigger on, I didn't know whether something was there. Pull the trigger on a raw version of Human Torch issue number 23 by Alex Schomburg. And so we have Human Torch, we have Toro, and we also have Submariner down here. In all transparency, I wanted one with a little more Human Torch on there, but this is a really cool book. We have an android essentially fighting a robot with Toro here. It's a really, really cool cover. There was a graded copy of this. I think it was a 4.5. I think it was a 4.5. Nice copy. They wanted a lot of money for that one. I went raw, little less expensive than that. For this, I actually paid $2,100. Paid $2,100 for this one. They had it for $22. Tried to negotiate on the price. The problem was they had only just recently acquired the book, and so they weren't willing to wheel and deal at the time. But the book is complete. No major tears, no pieces missing, none of that kind of stuff. The staple is actually pretty tight on this one. We do have a little bit of spine damage, just again par for course, but just a really gorgeous copy of this Human Torch book. I could not be more excited to have this one in the collection, and it was cool to be able to pick it up locally, examine it. Like on Friday, what I did is I had them take it out of the plastic. I was able to kind of flip through the book, check the staple, look for color touch and tears and all that kind of stuff. And then again on Saturday is when I actually negotiated the deal. negotiated the deal, for a $100 discount, but just a really cool book to add to the collection. So I'm very excited about that. The quest continues because there are still books out there that I want to get. There's still books that I want to add to the collection. I actually recently sold a copy out of the PC that I really like because I was trying to buy something else and upgrade to it. The upgrade sale didn't work out, but I ended up pulling the trigger and sold the copy. So now I have to fill that gap in the collection, but we will save that story for another day. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you were at Heroes Con and we took a photo together, make sure you tag me on social media. But I want to thank you guys. If you want to reach out to me, you can do it on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
Turn me up in my headphones a little bit, like I want to feel it, I want to hear it. All right, that's it right there. I spoke. When the sun rise, till it's burned out. No place to recharge, so we gotta learn how. Conversations with OGs, they got dreams that never worked out. So they become masters of dream analysis. They come in the form of barbers and schizos. Warhead with a big nose with his lip.